Now, Eric, just give us some background on how they were trafficked and when this happened.
And so, what details we've been getting is this has been a complex web of trafficking being carried out under the guise of a company by name QNet. And this is a problem that has existed for quite a while. There's been several reports made by different individuals on social media seeking to draw the attention of Ghanaian authorities and investigative bodies to the developments, particularly associated with this company. And so that primarily is what we know has been the driving force. And so this QNet company um, advertises jobs readily on the market in different parts of the developed world. And so you talk of Spain, Europe. Spain is in Europe. So in Europe, in the US, in the Middle East as well, they advertise all of these jobs readily available for persons to get the opportunity to go work in these places. Now, these unsuspecting Ghanaians believe these tales which are told. They subscribe to whatever platform it is under the guise of QNet. Then, when they decide to pack their bags, ready themselves to go, they join whatever pickup areas, or they are picked up from certain parts of the country, particularly the capital. There have been reports as well from the Western region and the likes. They are picked up, and instead of Europe, they end up in neighboring countries, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and what have you. In fact, there's been reports in the past by the CID where persons were rescued from Ivory Coast. The latest is what we're hearing from Nigeria as well. And so that, by and large, is what the challenge has been. Uh, this company promising jobs to many young people because the unemployment situation has not improved, and these unsuspecting victims, they eventually don't end up going to Europe as they've been promised. They end up going to other neighboring African countries in the West African sub-region. Then they are forced to be engaged in all forms of activities and the likes, and then they begin to sound the alarm bells, demanding rescuing. And so
Now,
that's
Eric,
what
this
has
is not what
happened.
I was going to ask in terms of when they get to these countries, what sort of setup are they put in? Are they housed in a single house? Are they housed in different places? And when you say they're put to use in different aspects, but what exactly are they then left to do, or what jobs do they do, if any?
Well, what we know is when they are housed, mostly they are housed in one place, they are forced to be engaged in internet fraud related activities. And so, based on the report of what it is that we've seen and heard from the first instance of the Ivory Coast kidnappings, if we can call them kidnappings, and the subsequent rescue by the Ghana Police Service, that is what they were primarily being asked to do. In fact, there is work that's been done by the Economic and Organized Crime Office in conjunction with the Criminal Investigations Department, which rescued over 200 individuals from different West African countries, Nigeria to be specific, who had actually been brought here to Ghana as well, and were also engaged in this internet fraud related activities. And so you call it romance scams and the likes. These are the jobs that, when they are trafficked out of the country, they go to Nigeria, they go to Ivory Coast, or they are brought from elsewhere into Ghana. That's what they are forced into doing. And so they are sometimes go long days without food. A number of them have reported eating just once a day. They don't even get the opportunity to bath. They become malnourished and the likes. That's what they are subjected to upon their trafficking out of this country, which we're learning of. There have been rescues done, the latest one in Nigeria. There have been different ones in the past in Ivory Coast as well. And then as well, we know that Ghanaian authorities here have been able to rescue in excess of 200 Nigerians as well over the last 2 months as well, who were all trafficked into the country, being forced to engage in internet fraud-related activities and have
Are
subsequently
they,
been...
Eric, are they specific about what internet fraudulent activities? Is it 419 scams? Is it what we are seeing? Or sometimes you'll get messages from random numbers saying you've won the UK lottery, or you've won the US lottery, and get in contact with us and we'll give you all the details. What are they specific in terms of the type of scams or fraudulent activities that they've engaged in or forced to engage in?
A number of the things you've mentioned falls into the category of what it is that they've been doing. And so of the many things that comes top on the agenda is romance scam, where they create different Facebook accounts, email accounts, where they are sending messages, which includes the fact that persons may have won the US visa lottery and are asking them to reach out and get assistance, or they create fake identities where they are asking persons that there are more job opportunities because they are seeking a lot more people to fall victim to these scams, and they are asking for some payments to be made, and then they can be given jobs elsewhere. And so a complex web of that. There's that of the romance scam as well. And then you can talk of the visa, I don't want to call it racketeering, but the fake visas and visa lotteries that persons have won, which they can then begin to solicit payments from via subtle ways to help these individuals receive these visas and the likes. That's the sort of activity that essentially cuts across. It's not a specific set of crime that they are engaged in, diverse activities, all in the attempt of swindling more unsuspecting persons, taking money from them, and in some cases ransoms as well, because we know yesterday during that press conference by the CID boss, there were 2 Ghanaian females as well who had been rescued. They fell victim to romance scams by some Nigerians, were rescued as well. And so they didn't directly fall under the QNet scheme. Theirs was specific to romance scam, but there are others who have fallen victim to these other schemes, and then they are being forced into to be engaged in these other activities as well.
Now, Erica, just one more question. With regards to their targets, are there specific countries that were being targeted, or was it just scams across the globe?
Well, for the complexity of the scams, we're not too certain of how far-reaching these scams have gone to, or whether or not they are not just targeting fellow Africans. We know, particularly for romance scams, they are seeking to target persons in the more developed areas. So particularly the US becomes a center of attraction for them, where they are seeking to swindle older persons, creating young female accounts, seeking to provide them with some emotional support, and then in terms of relationship and romance as well. That targets mostly the advanced countries, particularly the US. And so I know for a fact, based on other reports and other investigations that have been carried out, the romance scam particularly, the US nationals tend to fall victim to these form of activities. The others is where we do not know specifically in which areas they are targeting the attack, because some are towards their fellow Africans as well, where they are seeking to create other accounts and then promising them visas, amongst many other things.
Now, 7 suspects have been arrested. Should we expect more arrests? Are the police able to get more information from these suspects?
Well, what we understand is investigations are ongoing. They say that the offer on not repatriation, having them extradited is the word I wanted, having them extradited into the country is also on the cards. They mentioned that the head of the Nigerian police force has been quite helpful. They've engaged with the Inspector General of Police here in Ghana. The collaboration has been great, and so investigation is also ongoing, but they are seeking to, as much as possible, expand the threshold of the investigation to be able to pick up a lot more individuals and not just leave it at the 7 who have been identified and have been arrested. They are seeking to open up these investigations and then pick up more suspects in the coming days, and then extradition possibly could be on the cards as well, Lulu.
And just in wrapping up, Eric, with regards to their travel documents, did they have to hand over their documents? Did they have any documents when they met up with these people at that central point? What's the situation there?
That's actually very true. And so what happens to a lot of these victims is once they are kidnapped out of the country or trafficked out of the country, their travel documents, more often than not, is taken away from them, which actually is what leaves them stranded, because then they cannot make their way back to their host countries. Their travel documents stripped of them, their monies and every other thing through which they can possibly find their ways of escape is taken away from them, which leaves them with very slim chances of being able to reach families and the likes, which then becomes the difficulty. And so that's what happens to the victims. The police, what we understand is that all of these documents are being retrieved as part of investigation, even as they, like I mentioned, try to expand the investigation and pick up more suspects, Lulu.
Eric, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update.
Pleasure as always, Lulu.
That's our correspondent in Ghana, Eric Mawena Egbeta, joining us on the line.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.